India and Pakistan were going at it, and I called them both. And in this case, I used trade. I'm not going to trade with you. You start two nuclear nations, big nuclear. And no, you cannot do that. I said, yes, I can. You go into this freaking war that I'm hearing about. Actually, they just shot down 7 planes. 7 planes, it was started. There's a lot of bad blood. And I said, you do this, there's not going to be any trade. And I stopped the war. It was raging for 4 days, but that was just the beginning. And we stopped it. It was a great thing. And the Prime Minister of Pakistan was here, along with the Field Marshal, who's a very important guy in Pakistan, and he was here 3 days ago. And I didn't even realize it as beautiful as he said it, but he said that to a group of people that were with us, 2 generals, but a group, he said this man saved millions of lives because he saved the war from going on, and that war was going to get very bad, very, very bad. President Trump saved millions and millions of lives. That was a bad war. And I was very honored. I loved the way he said it. Susie Wiles was there. She said that was the most beautiful thing.
And there was Donald Trump, the President of the United States, absolutely flattered and blown away by the praise showered on him by Pakistan's Army Chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, who was at the White House again just a few days ago, his second close encounter with the US president in the last 6 months. And significantly, both these meetings have been after the Pahalgam attack, after Operation Sindoor, and shows you how geopolitics has completely turned on its head, particularly in this region. The US-Pakistan relationship, which at one point in the last few years had really sort of been on the down low, has suddenly been revived. And we are seeing Donald Trump and Pakistan edging closer together. And it's coming at a time where the India-US relationship is in trouble, in deep trouble, despite what may be said publicly at the moment. But we can see not just from the tariffs, but also from President Trump's other actions like on H-1B visas, etc., that the India-US relationship at the moment is not in a good place. So New Delhi is watching this new sort of bonhomie between Washington and Islamabad very, very closely. It has implications for India's security and for politics and geopolitics in the region. So what exactly is going on? Why is Trump so keen to woo Pakistan at this time? Well, joining us on Tracking Trump today on DeKoder is Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, a former diplomat, someone who has served in the region and understands Pakistan really, really well. Also with us is Michael Kugelman, one of the most respected voices on South Asia policies and politics. He's been following this region for a very long time, and really Pakistan in particular, and then understands the US-Pakistan relationship really well. Thank you both very much for joining us. Actually, Michael Kugelman, I wanted to begin with you. Why is Trump wooing Pakistan so aggressively at this time?
Yeah, I think we have to look at it from the Pakistan perspective first. I think Pakistan was very smart, and that it was able to pitch itself to President Trump as a useful partner to help get Trump the things that he wants, not just in a Pakistan context, but globally. So, Pakistan made these big pitches about its critical minerals and its cryptocurrencies, and it also pitched itself as a counterterrorism partner. And we see, going back to the very early weeks of the Trump administration, President Trump seemed to really appreciate what Pakistan could do to help when he thanked Pakistan in a joint address to Congress for helping apprehend an Islamic State terrorist. So there's that. And then Pakistan has been very successful at flattering the president. So I think that has prompted the president to want to pay attention to Pakistan for now. Now, I don't want to speculate too much, but one could also argue, if we look at the broader context of here that involving U.S.-India relations, perhaps the president and those close to him think that all the signaling and messaging about this goodwill toward Pakistan and all that could be seen as a pressure tactic with an Indian audience in mind, to try to get India to do some of the things that the administration wants it to do, or whether it's related to its imports of Russian oil or not making enough concessions at trade talks, or whatever the case may be. I would just say this, that I don't think we should overstate this resurgence in U.S.-Pakistan ties. It's remarkable how things have changed so much so quickly, but at the end of the day, we can't necessarily assume that President Trump, one of the most mercurial leaders we've ever seen in U.S. politics, is going to commit himself to a new partnership with Pakistan.
I think the issue with President Trump is he doesn't seem to commit himself to a partnership with anyone at this point, even America's closest allies. We've seen how he has treated them regarding tariffs as well. But the point that you raised on this possibly being a pressure point vis-a-vis India, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, wanted your take on this. There's a lot of speculation in Delhi about what really is driving this US-Pakistan relationship. Do you think that using it as a pressure point against India is part of it? Or is there something more to it? I honestly, I don't understand the take on the minerals and the oil, because no one's really found that in Pakistan. So what's going on here?
Well, diplomacy never travels in straight lines. So to that extent, I think we should take Michael's word for the substance that it has, that there could be a pressure point in using Pakistan against India. But the larger point is that once bilateral relationship between any two countries, not just USA, India, any two countries starts to slide down, then getting it back on track is extremely difficult. Because as in any human relationship, once the personal relationship between Trump and Modi starts to sour, then even meetings become an agenda by itself. So I am a little concerned that things may have gone too far in the wrong direction. Why they have gone too far in the wrong direction? Michael again is absolutely right that it started with Pakistan touching all the right buttons, pressing all the right buttons, starting from as soon as Operation Sindoor ended by saying that Trump must be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. As far as Trump himself is concerned, no amount of contradiction, no amount of points against him are going to affect him. For example, there is contradiction also on the nuclear issue. He has stayed silent on declared Pakistan's agreement with Saudi Arabia to transfer its nuclear assets when needed. The Pakistani defense minister is on record on television saying that. As far as your other point regarding the so-called minerals and oil, Pakistan itself has been trying to find out where is the oil, except in terms of the religious affinity with the Gulf countries. But even that has not worked. Gulf countries are rich in oil. Pakistan has not a drop of oil, as all geologists have pointed out so far. As far as the stones which are shown by General Munir to Mr. Trump recently in a box, the speculation is, and I'm being a little mischievous here, the speculation is that these were the stones Munir picked up during his recent visit to China. Because Pakistan may have some minerals, but they have not been, in the sense, gone beyond the exploratory stage and speculative stage. And there's a lot of distance between that and actually finding mineral if they have any.
Right. But another important thing has happened though recently, which is Pakistan's defense pact with Saudi Arabia. And Michael Kugelman, just to get you in on that, because there's that particular clause which says that any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against both. Now, Saudi Arabia is an important US ally, and you have Pakistan entering into this agreement with the Saudis. There's a lot of sort of mixed reaction here in Delhi as to what this could possibly mean for India. What do you think it means? Does it have a security implication for India? B, does it very clearly have geopolitical ramifications for the region?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very significant, and I think that this deal, this pact that you just mentioned, also reflects an important point about your original question about why President Trump's taking so much interest in Pakistan all of a sudden. And I think Pakistan's benefited from the geopolitical moment where you have so much going on in the Middle East, all of these crises and all of this churn, which is of great interest to President Trump, who wants to be the one that brings an end to all of it. And I think Pakistan has essentially successfully convinced President Trump and others in the White House that Pakistan is an important player in the Middle East, which it is to a considerable extent. But now that it has this pact with Saudi Arabia, it's essentially become formally embedded in the security architecture of the Middle East. I think that that will also get President Trump's attention. But to your question about what it means, it's very significant for India, simply because India has its own very close relationship with Saudi Arabia, one that, of course, has grown in recent years once India started increasing its oil imports from Saudi Arabia when it stopped importing oil from Iran because of U.S. pressure. And it's also, of course, important because of the India-Pakistan factor, and the strong possibility that we could see another conflict between India and Pakistan, much like the one we saw in May. Now, I do not think that this Saudi-Pakistani pact would deter India from carrying out strikes in Pakistan if it decided to do that. I also do not think that Saudi Arabia would respond in a significant way to an Indian decision to carry out military operations in Pakistan. But the mere fact that Saudi Arabia, one of India's closest partners in the Middle East, has this mutual defense pact with Pakistan, that in of itself, I think, is significant, and I think, quite frankly, is puts India on the defensive, at least to an extent. Final word on this: there's been a lot of discussion about what President Trump or the U.S. thinks about this deal. I actually think that the Trump administration would be very happy about it, because President Trump is always, talking about the need for American allies and partners to do more to pull their weight and pay more money and do more with burden sharing. So here's a case of a country that the Trump administration views as a partner and indeed views as an ally, Pakistan, essentially pledging to provide its support, its military support, to Saudi Arabia, another key ally of the U.S. So I think that's a good thing from the Trump administration's perspective.
Ambassador Dogra, would you agree with that assessment that this is something that I'm sure has made New Delhi uneasy? The official statement, I think, reflected that in the sense that, we are studying the implications of this pact, etc. But are you worried about its implications?
Well, I think not to be worried would be very unwise. And I'll give you one concrete example of what it could mean in a conflict situation. Pakistan has a record of transferring some of its assets, aerial assets, to other countries that it can depend upon during the previous wars. It did so in Iran, it did so even in far off countries like Indonesia, and it got help from some of these countries in terms of equipment. So as far as Operation Sindoor, recent Operation Sindoor is concerned, you saw the number of countries that helped Pakistan, including Turkey, including Azerbaijan. Saudi Arabia may not jump into any warlike situation, and I'm quite certain it will not, because of the relationship between Saudi Arabia and India. But what it could do is to offer its air bases for Pakistan's aircraft for safe harbor, and they will be difficult for India to target. It could also transfer surreptitiously some of the equipment that Pakistan might need. That by itself would not be very helpful to India in a situation which is escalatory. So I think to say that it is not going to affect India in any way will not be correct. As far as the regional situation which you raised earlier, I think we have to wait and watch. It is not as if Pakistan-Saudi Arabia alliance would now dominate the Arab world. Certainly not. But it could be a step towards that. And what is even more worrisome for the Arab world itself is, what if Pakistani soldiers are sent to the Gaza Strip? Because Pakistan's record there is not very salutary. Because in September 1970, when Ziaul Haq was a brigadier, there were allegations and proven allegations that he was responsible for a massive massacre of Palestinians in Jordan. So Palestinians would have memory of that, and so would the wider Arab world. So I think Trump may be very, very happy that he has found a person in Munir who he thinks is marvelous, and who is doing his bidding. But Munir may not be as simple or as obedient as Trump feels that he is.
That's an interesting point that you raise. And actually, that brings me to my next question, Michael Kugelman, which is that is there a possibility then that this sort of uh, praise that Trump is showering on Asim Munir and the attention that he's giving him could actually embolden Pakistan to undertake more terror strikes, cross border terrorist strikes in India? May not happen right now, but somewhere down the road.
Well, I think that this sudden vociferous support from the U.S. toward Pakistan certainly emboldens Pakistan's military on the whole, and it also, I think, you know, really puts Pakistan's military in a good place, which, quite frankly, was already in a good place since the end of the conflict, in the sense that the conflict enabled the military to win back a lot of goodwill. My sense is that regardless of the messaging coming from Washington right now, I think that the Pakistanis want to focus on continuing to stabilize their economy, on their various diplomatic relationships. I think they want to capitalize on this moment in the sun that, quite frankly, they're enjoying at the current global geopolitical moment. And I don't think that they would want to cause any mischief in the region at the moment. That's my view. I do acknowledge, again, as I said before, that the previous conflict really strengthened the military. It won back a lot of goodwill and trust from the public. But I think regardless of what's happening with the relationship with the U.S., that emboldens the Pakistani military in a number of ways. But I don't think that I would not think that that would give Pakistan any ideas about what it might want to do to stir things up in the region.
Ambassador Dogra, your view on that?
Well, firstly, we have to look at the personality of Munir. Anyone who knows his background knows that he is not a great strategic thinker, but he is someone who can be called an opportunist in every which way, whether in terms of his career or whether in terms of sidelining people who he thinks may be coming in the way of his personal ambitions. In this case, even the DG ISI at present in Pakistan. So I would be a little careful in being very confident that he will not be up to any mischief. On the contrary, I think Trump's encouragement may set him up to take risks, especially because Pakistan's internal situation is going from bad to worse every day. So to divert attention and also to sort of take care of any opposition he may have on the streets in Punjab, because all the rest, other provinces are restive. It's only Punjab which is so far okay for the Pakistani army. So if situation there also deteriorates, I think there are more chances than one that Munir may be tempted to do something which is undesirable.
I tend, to err on the side of caution with you on that as well, and fear. It's better for us to be prepared and fear the worst, actually. But I just have a last point, to discuss with you, which is, a piece that Aisha Siddiqa, who is a Pakistani security analyst, and she writes very well. Michael Kugelman, she wrote this interesting piece on the US-Pakistan relationship, and this one particular paragraph stood out to me, where she says that she fears that the US-Pakistan partnership will also ensure that voices of criticism within Pakistan, if at all raised, are silenced, and that the happy and excited Pakistanis should now begin to look at another dark era of authoritarian rule worse than what they experienced under Zia. How do you see that? I thought it was quite an interesting take on internally how this may play out.
Well, I mean, we've already spoken about how this new partnership with the U.S. has emboldened the military, but I think we've seen a pattern really going back over the last few years since Imran Khan was put in jail, where we've seen the Pakistani military consolidate power on a level that we really have not seen at any time during a period of formal civilian rule. I mean, essentially, Pakistan is essentially, in my view, under military rule, only not in a formal sense. So, and if you look at the army chief himself, and all of the power he has, even more power than a Pakistani army chief would typically have. He seems to be front and center with everything. Indeed, if you look at the situation in Pakistan, the levels of repression are extremely concerning and disturbing. And you do have resistance. There was a protest in KPK in recent days. Balochistan continues to, of course, be very restive. A lot of anger there against the state, but this is not something that the state will let play out, and there won't be a hesitation to crack down. So, yeah, Aisha's point, unfortunately, is a very good one. It's a very dark moment, I think, for Pakistan internally, even though, ironically, it's enjoying a lot of successes if you look at its external policies and its diplomacy and the strategic importance that many key countries, certainly the United States, tend to categorize Pakistan and see it as a strategic actor. So it's certainly a measure of contrast in terms of what's happening internally. But I would say the economy is starting to strengthen. The macro economy is strengthening. That's significant. But a contrast between what's happening inside the country and Pakistan's external policies.
And in fact, protests in Pakistan occupied Kashmir as well, which have intensified in the last few days. Interesting to see how the internal situation plays out within Pakistan. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on Tracking Trump today to try and make sense of this US-Pakistan relationship and what it could mean for India and for the region. Thanks very much. And that's it on the show this week. We'll be back with much more of Tracking Trump, where, as I always say, there's never a dull moment. See you next week.